Continue to listen Metta Sutta delivered by the Lord Buddha. This Metta Sutta is delivered by the Lord Buddha to 500 monks who are practicing in the forest. In this Metta Sutta, Buddha started to teach Karaniya Mata Kusalena. If the bhikkhu wants to dwell penetrating the state of calm, he should be skilled in his goods and should practice the three trainings: Sila, Samadhi, Pinya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. Then Buddha continued to teach 15 preliminary paths before radiating metta. Today we have to listen number 14. Number 14, Kuli Sot Nanu Gaido. To be freed of attachment to both male and female benefactors. Kulesu, among relatives. The meaning of kula is given as relative, as translated. However, the word relative, kula, in fact, does not convey the sense of a relative or a race. What it really means is a household or a family. So in this regard, it seems as if the word kulesu is to be interpreted as members of a household family. Nevertheless, this interpretation itself does not really make sense if considered in relation to bhikkhus. As such, it would be more clear to translate the word kulesu as male and female benefactors in a household family. Kulesu, as regards male and female benefactors belonging to a family. And Nanugaido means it should be it should be desirable attachment. It should be got rid of the desirable attachment. Actually, it means that there should be no attachment to male and female benefactors. When a bhikkhu is going round for alms to receive offerings of food or other things, from his male and female benefactors, he should make an approach, assuming himself in the role of a noble person, worthy of offerings, called Dakineya. Dakineya is the qualities of the Sangha. Supatipanno, Bhagavato, Savaka Sangho, Ujjupatipanno. The disciple of the Blessed One practice true way. The disciple practice straight way. The disciple practice proper way. And the disciple is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings. That is Dakineya. The benefactors should also donate, bearing in mind that the receiver is a noble personage, worthy of offerings, in order to gain as well as to promote better advantages. Familiarity should be avoided by the bhikkhu. Regarding a benefactor as his own close acquaintance. If close intimacy is created by a bhikkhu, it amounts to taking possession of, or rather accepting or seizing the offerings with desirable attachment, like an eclipse of a planet. That is called Gaha in Pali. Gaha. It would be something like attachment to his own self. In that case, bhikkhu is likely to become either rejoiced or sorry. This means if the benefactors, if the donor become prosperous and wealthy, the bhikkhu will also feel happy. Similarly, if the benefactors meet with trouble or any kinds of disaster, the bhikkhu will also become sorry or dejected. This is not the way a noble bhikkhu, noble monk should feel or behave. Of course, the benefactors may feel glad if their teacher, the bhikkhu, shares their feeling of joy and sorrow. However, that is not what the Lord Buddha wishes to happen. Lord Buddha's wish is to see the bhikkhus fully accomplished with sila, samadhi, etc., and to preach the Dharma to his benefactors to gain the noble virtue of kusala merits. So it is for the benefactors to consider their Dhamma teacher and guide as a plot of land which is to be cultivated for the germination of the seeds of kusala, the seeds of merits, and to make offerings to him and revere him. For the purpose of cultivating a land, it is really important that this plot of land, as this plot of a field, should be fertile. In the same way, it is essential for the bhikkhu who is receiving the offerings to have good fertilizers, such as sila, samadhi, pinya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. No financial benefits can be derived by him in the shape of a considerable sum of money by being sorry or dejected, or in other words, it does not pay him to be lamenting. If he gives assistance, the bhikkhu may probably benefit is by way of receiving gifts to the value of only a few thousands currency. A bhikkhu who is noble dakineya with purity of sila, for not having attachment to his benefactors, should not expect anything. On the part of the benefactors, for having generously donated to such a noble bhikkhu, accomplished with the admirable attributes of a holy personage, he or she is sure to derive merits, kusala, worth millions and millions of money, if considered in terms of money. A person by the name of Indaka, by virtue of kusala meritorious deeds, for having offered a spoonful of meal to the Venerable Anuruddha, was reborn as a very powerful Deva in the heavenly abode of Tawadesa. Considering this fact, it is quite obvious that it is really noble to donate with a virtuous inclination on the golden attributes of Sila, Samadhi, and Pinya of the recipient bhikkhu. On the contrary, if the benefactors revere and make offering of gifts to a bhikkhu, treating him as a close associate, expecting worldly advantages such as wealth and prosperity, it would amount to grasping or seizing pleasure, that is called gaha in Pali. And Buddha taught bhikkhu to behave like moon, which approaching, distancing all the time. Buddha instructed the bhikkhus to behave as visitors to the benefactors. In the same way, bhikkhus should approach the devotees or benefactors distancing by way of physical and mental. Even though the moon goes round in the universe without associating and clinging to anyone, people like the moon. So in the same way, bhikkhus should approach the families without clinging, distancing, by way of physical and mental attachment. So gaha, it is something like taking hold of or influencing the bhikkhu as a personal associate. The commentary has said that if there is dishonest relationship between both the bhikkhu and the benefactors, it would tantamount to gaha in Pali. Both the teacher and the benefactors are considered to be making as seizures. That is, the one sees the other, while the other also sees in response. If the benefactors are dishonest, despite the fact that the bhikkhu is dealing with the benefactors in the capacity of a dakineya, it would amount to Gaha in Pali. This means that the benefactors make a seizures, but the bhikkhu has escaped on his part. The effect would be quite the reverse if the bhikkhu were dishonest. These sorts of things is fairly widespread. If both parties are dealing with one another honestly, it is called Metta in Pali. Then both are said to have escaped, or rather been released from eclipse. Such kinds of dealing or relationship is indeed very essential in the teaching of the Buddha. Explanation given relating to the second verse appears comprehensive. Now we have to go on to listen the third stanza. Nacha Koda Majari Genji, etc. It is the last fundamental rule of conduct. And for the kinds of vice, other intellectual, that is, other men of wisdom, we blame by pointing out the fault. Such an insignificant and vile, blameful vice, even anything that is a trifle, should not be practiced. This is the last rule of conduct which ought to have been accomplished long before out of the fundamental principle or rules of conduct in the practice of Metta Bhavana. Now again, preliminary parts of 15 principles have to be enumerated. Sako should be able or competent to practice. Uju must be straightforward. Suhuju must be extremely honest. Suvacha should be obedient. Mudu should be gentle. Anatimani should not slight others with self-pride, thinking very highly of oneself. And Santosako should be easily contented. Subro must be a person who can be easily supported by male and female benefactors. Apakeja should have few duties or free from care. Sanlahukavoti should not be burdensome, keeping only a few belongings in his possession. And then Santindriya should have the moral qualities of serenity without being affected by the sensation arising out of the perception through the eye, ear, etc. And Nipaka should have the mature reflective knowledge. And Apagabha should be polite and modest and free from impudence. Ananugeda should be free from passionate attachment to male and female benefactors. Should be distancing physically and physical and mental attachment. Distancing. Ananugeda. In regard to the principle of personal moral conduct, the practitioner should avoid any kinds of vice, no matter how trivial it may be, which wise men would find it blameworthy. Nothing should be done, spoken or imagined, even a very trivial things with which other wise men would find it faulty. However, of course, it would be difficult to completely control the imaginative mind. Because mind is difficult to control. It is difficult to completely control the imagination. So in this regard, it should be rejected as far as possible. Wholesome mental states is difficult to be rejected. So after these 15 principles of moral conduct, which should have been accomplished from the very beginning, that is Popa Bhaga Patipada, the method of ordinarily developing metta has been initially shown in this way. Sukhi Nawa Kemi Nahondu Sabasata Bhavantu Sukhi Tata. That means may all kinds of beings be happy. Kemi Nawa, may all kinds of beings may be free from dangers. May they be free from dangers. And may they gain physical and mental happiness. So in this regard, the word Sukhino should be interpreted in a grammatical sense. So it is to develop metta either mentally or verbally by reciting as may all beings be happy and free from dangers. In the expression Sukhitata, the word Sukhita means to have happiness according to the rules of grammar. Atta conveys the meanings of either mind or body. Atta. If atta is said to be body, it can be taken to mean both material rupa and nama. Grammatically, it means to have both body and mind accomplished with happiness. So it would mean being happy both physically and mentally. As such, according to that expression, metta can be developed by reciting, may all beings be happy both in body and mind. May they be happy physically and mentally. So we have to radiate ordinary way. Can you follow me? Sukhi Nawa Kimi no Hondu Sabbasata Bhavantu Sukhi Tata. May all beings be happy.
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 Be free from dangers.
Be free from danger.
And be happy.
And be happy.
Both in body and mind.
Both in body and mind.
So that is Sukhino wa Kemino Hondu. Sukhino, may they be happy. Kemino, may they be free from dangers. And Bhavantu Sukhitata, may they be happy both in body and mind. So that is ordinary way of developing metta. And when developing metta by reciting in this way, every time recitation you make, you need to be aware the mind The mind, the citta which is inclined to recite, occurs afresh repeatedly and then dissolve. You need to be aware of the radiating mind. The mind which is inclined to recite occurs afresh repeatedly and then dissolve. And the citta wishes to be born in mind as may they be happy with a feeling of loving kindness also vanish repeatedly. The physical behavior and the voice which utters also occur afresh again and again. If you be aware, you can recognize, you can notice. And the rupa and nama that dissolve repeatedly and immediately after occurrence should be contemplated every time you make a recitation. At every moment, Metta citta arises. So this manner of contemplation is vipassana, that is khayato vayato samasaitva. That is, it can be achieved up to the stage of arhata phala. After observing and contemplating that the Namarupa has ceased and disappeared. It is clearly stated in the commentaries. Such being the case, immediately after recitation has been done, both the citta which is born in mind, or rather the mind that is conceived and utterance or recitation made, should be contemplated together. Thereafter, instruction have been given by preaching the two verses as to how metta should be developed by distinguishing the beings into 2 or 3 categories or 2 or 3 parts. So Buddha taught how to develop metta by dividing it into 2 or 3 parts. Yekechi panna buddhati tasawa tawarawa nawa sesa, etc. Tasa being. It is an individual who is trembling with fear and stay on practicing, that is Puduchana and Sikha. Tawara beings are a perfect and holy Arahant who is serene, steadfast and fearless. So ordinary worldling have a lot of kilesa, loba, dosa, moha, raga, dosa, moha, desire, anger, delusion, etc. And when the practitioner reached the stage of Sotapannahood, Sotapanna eliminate how many Sanyojana? 2, Ditti and Vicikicca. Sotapanna has eliminated wrong view and doubt. Sakaya Ditti and Vichikicca. Sakadagami eliminated grosser form of raga dosa moha, grosser form of greed, hatred, and delusion. Anagami eliminated others, kamatana, sensual desire, and hatred. And Arhan has eliminated all kinds of kilesa. Arhan eliminated Tanna, craving for five material existence and immaterial existence, Rupa Bhava and Arupa Bhava. And shamelessness, fearlessness, Odicca, restlessness, mana, pride, and tinameda, sloth and torpor. So Arahan, Tathagata and Arahan, Tathagata is fully enlightened Buddha, and the Arahan are free from raga, dosa, moha, free from lust, evil, and ignorance. So they are without fear, they are without trembling, they are without terror, and they do not run away. So other beings are not free from raga, dosa, moha. They are not free from greed, anger, and delusion, etc. And they are subject to trembling, subject to terror, subject to running away. So dasa beings are trembling and shaking with fear, maybe caused by anger and passion, dosa and tanha. Because of anger and tanha, lust and desirable attachment, they are trembling and shaking with fear. So those who are prone to fright are living beings who are not yet free from anger or hatred, such as Puthujjana, Warlings, Sotapanna, and Sakadagami. So those beings who are frightfully affected by passionate desire are common Warling, Puthujjana, and also include individuals who are Sotapannas, Sakadagami, and Anagami. How they are seized with fear because of passionate desire is something similar to beings who are anxious for not getting or receiving which they crave for or wish to obtain. Those whose mind is tranquil, unperturbed, and steadfast without a feeling of fright are noble arhants who are totally free from tanha, who are totally free from tanha, human passion. So tassa being are those beings who are prone to fear, are beings who are not yet liberated from passionate and desirable attachment. And Tawara beings are beings who have totally no fear and are not apprehensive, are not nervous, with serenity and stability of mind, are noble ones, arahants. So if you divide the beings into two categories, the sawa beings and tawarawa, the sawa tawarawa, it has been distinguished into two categories: individual who are not free from tanha and who are entirely got rid of tanha. These two should be kept distance and separated in developing metta by reciting according to the two verses. It should be also combined together with vipassana in practicing contemplation. So we need to radiate metta by separating beings into two parts, rasa and tawara. Can you follow me? May all Puthujana and Sikha who individuals who are likely to get easily frightened for not being free from tanha, for not being free from tanha, be happy in both body and mind. And another category, may all noble arhants, may all noble arhants who are serene and steadfast without any fear, for having been fully emancipated from the bonds of tanha, be happy. So you divide the beings, is one is fearless, one is fear, who have fear and easily get alarmed. So both, can you follow me? May all those beings fearless, noble arhants, as well as all beings who have fear and easily get alarmed, alarmed. Be happy in both body and mind. So fear person, who have fear and easily get alarmed, it is one group. Another arhan group is fearless, noble arhans. So you divide the beings into two categories. And then Buddha continued to teach to how to develop metta separating into three distinct parts. So we will continue next week. We have to stop our discourse for today by practicing Metta Bhavana, Metta loving kindness meditation, and Vipassana meditation continuously and meticulously. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.